thing that I'm interested in is the freedom of the human race from these useless excrements of taboo and cruel complexes that have been inculcated into them.
All of life is a joke.
So once again, we're seeing mankind continue his search for meaning in life. And again, we're seeing a resurgence of interest in cult.
Thou hast no right but to do thy will.
Cult has a broad base to it.
When you realize that you're being put on by everything you come up against is when you're truly enlightened.
There is no law beyond do what thou wilt.
And I'm mainline with Satan. And I'm mainline with Satan. Many still view the cult with suspicion. They summoned a demon.
Welcome to Cult on our podcast, episode 5. My name is Gerd Torbitt. I am flying solo this week. Solo in the sense of literally on my own, not like Han Solo who has a co-pilot. I don't have a co-pilot, therefore I will be unsupervised and will be in charge with censoring myself and what comes out. So the fun thing about me putting this podcast together is I can edit the stuff that might get me cancelled, and more often than not I usually end up that drunk by the time I'm finished editing it that I just leave stuff in and just, fuck it. So yeah, welcome to Cult on our podcast, episode 5. We're going to do a wee mailbag episode, so to speak. I'd asked some of the other cult members and some of the people who follow the page for questions, and I got a few crap questions, and then I says no, seriously, and everybody asked me a bunch of good questions. So I got some good questions and some stuff that I want to talk about. So I've been taking it easy. I've been after finishing lecturing on my course about art and the unconscious, I just found myself very tired after the cult exhibition. I've been saying about sort of post-exhibition burnout and sort of a lot of things, and just general heat of the summer, and a lot of things get to you and you end up kind of like, oh, what now? What do we do? And I think keep the old brain box going, keep it alive. So I've got some good questions about art, and I'll be talking about myself, sort of, because I can't interview myself, so I'll be talking about my own perspectives, but I'll also talk about kind of cult as a group as well. But I don't want to speak for anybody on anybody's behalf who isn't here. I may warn you, I am drinking Absolute Honey vodka, and yeah, cranking away that good thing. So this might get silly. So I originally recorded an intro when it was shite, so this is a way better one. So let's get down to it. Let's do some culting. Oh, I don't know about that. Let's get down to it then anyway, and we'll just get some cult. Let's just answer some questions. Right. So I got a good question, kind of more of a general question. As far as we were talking to Danny Davies the other week, I'm going to ask him about when he became an artist. We were saying when he come out to the universe, and so when did I become an artist? What does that mean? And what did it look like? And what did it feel like? That's a good question. Let me think. I think it comes in stages. I think it's like stages. There was definitely the point in school where you were like, I can remember sort of getting told off for like drawing kids in my class, but like distorting them and giving them like extra eyes and stuff, and they thought it was great, but the teacher was like, you can't do that. And I thought, that's weird. Stuff like that. And then sort of I was the kid who made stuff and did stuff, and so if the teacher wanted like something like a put in the wall, it'd have been like, that's always like the arty kid. But I think a lot of that was because it wasn't really taken away from me like it was other kids. Oh, you're not good enough, I was just happened to be quite good at it because my dad had an inclination towards art. Didn't have much of an opportunity for it, considering he was growing up fucking late 60s trying to get somewhere, like, so I always kind of just assumed art was just something that was in you, which is something lucky that I've kind of had, kind of like similar in sort of the way I think like my parents are quite weren't quite heavily politically one way or the other, which helped. You know what I mean? There's certain things in your kind of upbringing that help. So I was kind of brought up with like my parents were like, just art was a thing I did, and you know, I was always kind of encouraged. I can remember my mum on Halloween watching like Art Attack or something. It might have been, or Heartbeat or something. Might have been Art Attack actually, or Heartbeat. I don't know. Went back that long, and I was bored. My mum says, "Oh yeah," and she got me pastels and pastel paper because I'd seen it on like Art Attack or Heartbeat the previous week. And I go pastel, and I thought, fuck, my mates don't have pastels. I thought that's pretty good. I think I still have the pastels sitting somewhere actually. A couple of them left, because I think I remember saying this to Donny Davies, when you're brought up as a kid, you kind of you know, if you're kind of brought up kind of poor, you kind of hold on to your materials. So I think I still have some of those pastels. You know, I was afraid to use them. They were good pastels, you know. And in school as well, it was like, school, fucking secondary school could have squeezed the soul and creativity out of anybody. You get, what, 1-2 periods a week of art, and then, do you know what? I could feel myself, I could feel like the fucking Mortal Kombat shadow coming over there, just talking about school. If you don't mind, I'll just skip that for now. I'll probably look back to it, depend, but I don't want to start, let me see. I'd rather start with a friendly energy than energy of talking about school, because fuck that, it crushes it out of people. It really does. There's a couple of quotes that I used in my lectures about the art and the unconscious, and there's a thing called the beginner's mindset. I thought I had more notes about imposter syndrome, but I don't. I'll talk about that in a minute. It'll be an interesting one, but yeah, we'll talk about imposter syndrome right after this, actually. That'll be an interesting one. So, pardon me. Beginner's mindset, I'd written down, Picasso had said every child is an artist, and the problem is how to remain an artist when we grow up. Another quote he said, which sits nicely beside it, is, "It took me 4 years to paint like Raphael and a lifetime to paint like a child," which I thought was cool. As I sort of got older, you sort of, again, I don't like this kind of tabloid way of thinking of, like, you know, you talk about magic, you think you're talking about Russell fucking Grant and Mystic Meg, or you talk about art and I think you're talking about Tracy Emin and, you know, I don't know, Salvador Dali, or something that the general consciousness thinks they know about. And there's always that saying of like, oh sure, anybody could do that, and this kind of idea that modern art's kind of shit and it's a piss take and it's a money laundering scheme. And once you kind of go a bit deeper and you realise that there's a lot of grey area and a lot of nuance to art as a thing. I mean, you even look at stuff like outsider art, you look at stuff like degenerate art, as the Nazis called it, which is quite interesting, ties into my sort of ideas about the inner critic of you know, the fact that Hitler had tried to never has anybody been so wrong about so many things, but Hitler had tried to sort of label art as being degenerate and not that good, like a big angry headmaster, you know, and he tried to put on 2 simultaneous art shows. I don't know if it was him or the head of the fucking, their culture minister or whatever, but they put on these 2 shows and the degenerate art really sounded like a much more interesting one than what they portrayed as proper, true, you know, Aryan German art. So I always think when your inner critic starts playing up, you know, you hear your inner critic in your own voice, but I think if you hear your inner critic in a kind of a Hitler voice, it's kind of funny. You know, you think about like the movie, you know, The Producers, where the half of him is just some sort of wee fucking dick, or like Saddam Hussein in South Park, you know, and it's funny. Like then you think, if you know, like imagine. So I don't really agree. This might sound controversial, but I don't really agree with the term imposter syndrome. I think it's a wee bit like the term like horror vacui. It seems to be a sort of a catchy phrase that's get into people's heads. I remember a mate saying something really scary to me, and I says, mate, that's getting into my head. It's like Freddy Krueger, that's getting into my head. So people think imposter syndrome. I don't even think it's a fucking real thing. I think it's just it is. It's almost like someone handing you like a fucking mental Rubik's Cube that you don't really need. You're like, dude, I'm trying to work. I've got enough tasks to work out. So one thing to look back to be talking about being an artist, one thing I sort of think is I feel I am an artist. I have fought and sacrificed so much to be who I am, and to have that sort of healthy confidence, that ego strength, that healthy narcissism. Some people don't like that. You'll generally find people who you can tell are fucking narcissists, don't like it. Because you're like going, look at me, look at my art, look what I can do. And you know, it's like the wee dickhead at the back of class that just wants to rip your painting up. Do you know what I mean? So, I do feel one of the things I can really confidently say from as a kid, I'm not bad at art. And you go, I'm better at art than other people. I'm the arty kid, I'm the school went through and then I went to art college, but I still had this urge to still do art. And then, I think in my 20s, I'd done a painting that you probably recognise. It's a very me painting called La Risée du Monde. It was the laughing stock of the world, and it's got like a beak and teeth and a lot of sort of very me motifs that I've kind of probably, you would nearly call a bit of a comfort zone for me. And the Risée du Monde was sort of a turning point for me, and we sort of analysed that as in some of the stuff that was hidden in that, as a sort of a stepping point to the art and the unconscious. And this sort of motif will appear at certain points. This kind of jester with a beak, which relates to a lot of things about me and my sort of my psyche and my journey. So it's interesting. But I think that was one where I went, shit, I'm painting a bit different than other people. I'm not just painting like the same as everybody in my class kind of thing. And then whenever I did the residency in Cushendall Tower, I was like, dude, you don't get residencies off Bill Drummond for nothing really. It felt like it was a thing for a reason, and it felt like shitter got off the pot. Like you've been handed an opportunity. I think I mentioned there was a guy who had an opportunity to stay in the tower and he squandered it and he annoyed everybody so much that he even pissed off Liam Neeson in the local pub. Weird. But so I kind of felt at that point, if you think of the tarot, the symbolism of the tarot, and how everything falls down, at that point my family life, I think, had started to get a bit more difficult. I had 2 kids and I was trying to provide as a provider as opposed to focusing on my strengths and my skills as an artist, and so I kind of had to sort of go again, shit, or get off the pot. It was like, am I an artist or am I a hobbyist? And I was like, shit, we can't be a hobby artist and get these opportunities and have the synchronicities happen to you that did happen, the coincidences, the connections that were made, and the pathways that were created. If you do any reading about, say, chaos magic and stuff, you think about pathways, you think about, sigil work, you think about pathways, you think about some doors open up for you if you kind of think like a computer game. If you kind of go through a certain dungeon, you can unlock certain doors and stuff like that. And it feels like what movie is it? Fucking it's Son of Frankenstein. It's Basil Rathbone. He's the son of Frankenstein, and he goes, he finds this letter from his dad, and it's like, though the path is hard and all, carry on. And he does this whole thing. It's quite good. It's Basil Rathbone makes everything sound amazing. Like, that was the way it is. Blah, 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 blah. It's all kind of posh and English and pointy. But yeah, so I've always just kind of had this thing of like this urge to draw and paint, and like every opportunity where it's like, this would be better for you to be an artist and be a painter and be the you that I think this version of me needs to be. I think I said it before, I don't think a lot of versions of me, if you think of the multiverse, there's not a lot of versions of me made it this far. I'm 42 now, so I feel like it's a difficult path, but it's a path that I'm kind of comfortable treading. I've kind of got the equipment for this path. It's like if you were dropped in the desert, but you've got equipment. But if you were dropped in the desert, but you've got snowshoes and an ice pick, you haven't got the right equipment. I think I've got the right equipment for the task ahead, for the path ahead. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about being an artist. I feel like was the point where you feel like there's a lot of things that just make you feel like you go, kind of like James Bond and that is it Octopussy? Is the movie where he drives the fucking car on the train track? You go, do you know what? I don't know if this is the right way to do this, but it's on some sort of track. It seems the right way, If there's progress being made, if there's work being done, if there's achievements and success and pride in yourself, then I think that's it. I think that's how I feel anyway. So yeah, hopefully you dig that. That sounds pretty fucking. That's an answer, isn't it? Sorry for waffling so long, but yeah, I went everywhere. So the imposter syndrome. No, I don't really get it. because I know I'm an artist. I mightn't be the best artist. Think about it like wrestling. You know, think about it like Hulk Hogan. You know, he was always the top man on the card. You know, there was guys there who were like curtain jerkers and mid carders for life, who were guys who were just happy enough. They got a couple of fucking matches, they get paid. They got a good, you know, it was sold out because Hogan was there. You know what I mean, and they get paid. So, you know, you mightn't be the champion, Hall of Fame legend that say Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold or someone is, but you're still a fucking wrestler. You're still participating. You're still working the craft. So I can't win the championship if I'm like, well, I'm not a wrestler anymore. Like if I do like what do you call him, Sid Vicious or Sid Justice, and he would take time off to go and play like softball, baseball or some shit like that, and you're like, what are you fucking doing that for? You know? It's like, kind of focus on what you're doing, dude. You know? I mean that literally, is in the sense of if I am an artist, I want to stay on that path, which kind of leads into another question. Actually, yeah, I kind of feel like, yeah. I feel like I'm never questioning what I'm art, because I am producing art. I am making art. Now, whether it's selling or whether it's famous is a different thing, but I'm producing art. So what stopped me from being an artist? I've got another wee question I'm going to go to, which I quite like this one. But I've got a wee quote for you, just about. I always read this wee quote to people. It's a great quote. And like, see, I've only had one drink. I'm being good, so I'm not going to do my Nelson Mandela impression. Nelson Mandela impression would actually be quite nice if you were trying to get your inner critic to sound cool. You'd be like, oh, what a nice voice, I talked like that, didn't he? Like when Nelson Mandela, he was cool. I grew up in West Belfast, and so we sort of, there's that solidarity we always have with other sort of struggles around the world. You know, you kind of go, if it can happen there, it can happen here. So I was like Nelson Mandela, and I remember this quote from his, I think it was his presidential speech. One second. Honey vodka tastes mental. It's like mead mixed with vodka and nuts. You'll start hearing me go loopy. So as it was written for him, I can't remember the girl who wrote it, but you'd find it, and it was written for him. I think it's his presidential speech, something like that. It's a good big well-known speech that says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That's a class quote. Now, obviously, some of you may have a problem with the word God. What thought about God for? You can replace God with Mother Nature or the universe or whatever you want to think. God sometimes can also just mean like your higher self too. You know, your guardian angel. There's a lot of different ways of taking it, but I think it's a great quote. We let our own light shine. We unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Even people who want to belittle you and tear you down. You know what I mean? They'll still feel stronger than you because they think they're better than you. But most people who, you know, I don't feel I've been given as many opportunities as I kind of feel like I deserve. So I like to kind of make opportunities for myself, and I feel like a lot of people maybe feel that way, and that was kind of like a kind of cult was to me. Like it was like, let's give everybody a fair crack of the whip, you know. You can't be an imposter if you've been like, well, I've been in a fucking international group art exhibition, which, you know what I mean, if you think about the quotes on, you know, movie posters, or, you know, and they'll sort of take the best, you know, quote from the review and then they'll be on the poster, you know. You think about it, do you think, you know, it mightn't have been the biggest fucking international art exhibition, it mightn't be like world renowned just yet, but you were part of international art exhibition with like some pretty good artists. Yeah, guys, not to be sniffed at. You know, one of the other cults, I remember getting really annoyed because some people didn't show up. I said, what are you doing? You're sitting at home wanking into a sock. What are you doing? Watching TV? You do it any night. This is your night. This is your time. This is your opportunity. It's your wee moment to let your light shine. And then sort of in doing that, you do, people then come and they'll go, fuck, I'd love to be part of a cult. Or even better, people you want to fucking do better. People, we could do better. We'll go and do better then. I used to play in bands with people. Cunts used to be like, I'm leaving, using your crap. You'd be like, we'll go and fucking form a band that's better than us. And guess how many of them did? None of them. Like, seriously, I could count fucking amount of people who I would, oh, your band's shit. What have you done? What have you done? You know what I mean? There's probably people, Torbitt's art shit. You know, what have you done? You're probably sitting in the fucking house playing Call of Duty and fucking fiddling with your fucking jobs out, you twat. I'm not even talking about anyone in particular. It's just life's too fucking short and too important. Do you know what I mean? Think about Ozzy Osbourne, think about Hulk Hogan. They weren't being wallflowers. They were fucking out doing shit. You know, probably had their doubts. The odd time. You know what I mean? That's probably what gives people maybe crazy egos, but fuck it, you know what I mean? Sometimes people are weird as well when they're building ego strength, when they're healing. Sometimes people can be cocky or arrogant because they're kind of trying to work out, trying to try out confidence. I don't suit myself sometimes when I feel overconfident, but I know I'm a fucking decent artist and know I'm a fucking decent dude, and you can take that away from me if you want, but you can try to, but yeah, fuck off. So there you go. That's Torbitt on art and imposter syndromes. If you fucking do the art, if you show up, you're an artist. That's as simple as that. If you've had an exhibition, if you painted a picture, if you have art materials, if your clothes have paint on them, if you're spending if you're doing your 10,000 hours, your 20,000 hours, if you're doing that painting instead of sitting trying to fucking build a fucking, I don't know, unlock a golden gun and fucking Call of Duty or something. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff you can do where you're like, shit man, invest your time in that, make your fucking monument, build your fucking build your sort of your cenotaph, build a monument to yourself with your art, you know what I mean? Build that healthy ego. Yeah. Or not, you can just sit and scratch your hole and fucking, you know, play Minecraft or something if you want. I can give two fucks, really. No, what's to me? Just want some ASMR. Oh, my ice is melted. I was going to do some melty ASMR, clinky. Did you ever listen to the ASMR guy I listen to? Me and my daughter listen to him trying to get to sleep. He talks like this. He's got a very, very weird, sort of Scandinavian voice. And he makes these noises and shit. But I might try that. I'll try to, whenever I wake up with a hangover and do the whole, where's my fucking Red Bull? Why am I alive? You can't, yeah. Next question. Do you know, there's a really good quote that, here's a wee tip for you, actually. Anybody who feels like they want to take advice from someone like me. I have notes. Your phone usually has notepads on it. It's for stuff like shopping lists and all. What I do is I find quotes and wee phrases that I like, and I have them there, and they'll be kind of on my screen that I can kind of flick past them, and they sort of over time start to sink in. I used to work in a school library for a while, and I used to take quotes like the Nelson Mandela one. I used to put them on the wall because, you know, some kid's going to be sitting there bored and it's going to catch their eye, and maybe it'll sink in. This was the same year art. Maybe I'll start a conversation, you know. And so what I do is try to have notes and quotes sitting about. Sometimes you'll find one at the right time. I was talking to a girl, Hecate Rose, I think, the other day, and I'd mentioned to her William Blake, and she said that she was doing a bit of reading about Hecate and then found the William Blake painting, and it was like, William Blake will always find you. It's amazing. I'm drinking some sort of weird ginger beer and honey vodka mix, which is absolutely amazing. So this podcast is going to start good up a notch. Kind of tastes medicinal. It's fantastic. So I was going to say there's a lovely quote. I know I said about God. There's a lovely quote, and I think it was Terry Crews said this. He says, "God will not have his work made manifest by cards." Isn't that good? That's a good one. And it's like I said about shit, get off the pot. You know, what are you going to do? God will not have his work made manifest by cards. That's like a rallying call, isn't it? It's like you won't get anything done if you're sitting there scared to do anything. It's a great quote. I love that one. And I'm not trying to be like some sort of grind bro who's like, yeah man, you gotta be an alpha male, blah blah, you gotta feel the grind. It's more just don't be afraid. Be not afraid, innit? I have another quote for you. Actually, we're talking about cards. Actually, we'll go back. Hold on. There's one that I put down, and it's yes, Vincent van Gogh. At 27, Vincent van Gogh was not a painter. 3 years later, he wrote this. Many painters are afraid of the blank canvas, but the canvas is afraid of the truly passionate painter who dares, and who has once broken the spell of you can't. By the time he was 37, he had 2,000 works of art created. So, isn't that good? He's once broken the spell of you can't. That's lovely. That's really nice. That's a great quote. I just sometimes have these sitting. The good thing is with these quotes, sometimes you kind of scroll through them, and yeah, if your internet's not working, if you're bored on the bus or something, you know. The other quote that I love is, as I said, I wouldn't join a group that would have me as a member. And it's the great Groucho Marx, the great Groucho Marx, who wasn't huge in the UK. I got into the Marx Brothers kind of off the back of Rob Zombie, I think. One of the Devil's Rejects movies, I think, was talking about the Marx Brothers, and I checked them out. I was more of we were always more Laurel and Hardy kids over here, I think. Three Stooges a bit more, and then Marx Brothers I don't think were a big thing here. Kind of like Mega Man games and Castlevania games. I don't remember anyone from Belfast playing Castlevania or Mega Man. It felt like, did rich kids buy those? Did rich kids from like the Malone Road and the Antrim Road, did they get those games? And did we end up with like fucking, I don't know, what do you call it, Zen, Intergalactic Ninja, and fucking Terminator for the Master System? Shit. Anyway, right. Groucho Marx. Art is art, isn't it? Still, on the other hand, water is water, and east is east, and west is west. And if you take cranberries and stew them like applesauce, they taste much more like prunes than rhubarb does. So the next question is there any art styles, that you're intrigued by that you'd want to try out, and what's impeding trying it out, i.e. costs, space, etc. Young Cameron said that's good. Sorry for correcting your grammar, Cameron, but you know, I'll do it the old time. Sorry. Is there any art styles that you're intrigued by that you would want to try out, and what's impeding trying it out, i.e. costs, space, etc.? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I would love to do. I was thinking that I'd love to have like a workshop, like a workbench. I don't think I have the space for it. I work in my attic, and my attic's got like beams, so it's not kind of like it's kind of ostensibly like a fucking big shed with a hole in the ground that you can really hurt yourself if you fall down. So I would love like a workbench. I like stuff like there's a guy called Craftsman, and he makes me miniature stuff, and he does lots of moulding and injection moulding and casting, making like wee bootleg action figures and stuff like that. I think I'd like to do that. I think though I would need to do something that is, do you remember what I said about, you know, you can't be the best wrestler on the card if you're taking 6 months off a year to go and play baseball? You know what I mean? Like, didn't Michael Jordan, didn't he go and play golf like a dick? Michael Jordan invented jumping, by the way. I fucking hate Space Jam. Where was I? Yes, different mediums. So I do one of the other. My PC's fucked, but I used to be quite good at digital art. But digital art was a lot more illustrative, and you could do fan art. You bang out fan art much easier on it, you know, using Photoshop and, you know, layers and sort of stencils and stuff like that. You know, you could bang out a lot of stuff pretty quick. But yeah, I used to find if you dabble in a different medium, that was parallel to the one that you were good at. You know, like, so I found because there was a precision and a slickness to working digital, you had kind of your undo button, and you could zoom in and dig in, and you know, you were quite hunched over, as opposed to painting where I would be sort of standing and, you know, lashing the paint about and quite loose. I found myself being quite tight about my stuff. Blending was tighter, my lines are a bit more precise, because I think other than the undo button, the computer is quite, you know, digital's quite fiddly. I would love to have tried Z brush, which, do you know, I don't think I would hate that. You know, imagine some of my stuff in a kind of 3D, kind of, you know, 3D printable format, which then would be like, I would love to do like a bootleg figure. Like, I seen one the other day of Megatron from Transformers, and there's a Skybound Megatron where he has no eyes and a missing arm, and he's just kind of wired in. It looks like if I could draw Megatron, it's like he's got these wires coming out of his eyes and shit. It's like, oh yeah, like something like that. Like, what would I think what I wanted to do was a Stormtrooper. I wanted to cast a Stormtrooper figure and make like a bootleg. You know, there's someone who makes these ones who are like Stone Cold ET and like Hulk Hogan ET and like wrestler Admiral Akbar, and they're alright. But I was kind of thinking, like, imagine like what would a Stormtrooper look like if someone was like, what would a Torbitt-ified Stormtrooper look like? Because there was Halloween edition of Star Wars figures, and they do like, there's one as a clone trooper, and it's like fucking, it's amazing. I need to get it. If anybody wants to buy me it, I swear I'll give you a painting for it. Like, if it's literally, I don't have any money, so it's like a clone trooper, but he's got like skeleton skull print on him. I was like, oh fuck, it's great. So I was kind of like, what would happen if I could do it? Like what would happen if, like, I created a plague that infected stormtroopers? Like, think of the night troopers from Ahsoka. They're stormtroopers are like, they're dead, but they're all crushed up armor, and their armor's like taped together with this red tape and bits of gold. It kind of looks like those Japanese, because it can't remember. It's fucking cool, you know, they fix the jars with bits of gold. Looks cool like that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So like, what would mine look like? They'd have definitely be tubes and pipes coming out of them, and yeah, it'd be fucking cool. Yeah, I think like if I could design my own Stormtrooper. I remember Cameron saying he'd love to do like a 3D version of one of John's paintings, and I think like that would be interesting. I'd love to make masks. I always thought masks were cool, but I don't want to make masks for like, I mean, I probably would have been the best special effects fucking guy if that was a thing that people from Belfast could have done years ago. I don't know, I would love special effects, just making weird scurry shit. Remember that movie with Brian Brown and Brian Dennehy? FX2 is actually better. It's one of the ones with the sequel is actually better than the original, because the original's not that good. It's good, but it's not that good. And FX, yeah, I think I would love to have done that. You know, making up like you know Tom Savini, you know, stuff like squirting head stumps and how to make a head blow up, and yeah, I would love to have masks and prosthetics, and I sort of played with that when I was in school, and you know, that wasn't fucking weird. You know what I mean? Would have loved to have done. I remember making a wound in my sketchbook, and the wound just looked like someone had just fucking smashed a fucking vagina in with a hammer. It was minging looking. It was meant to look like kind of like an open Terminator wound, but it was just the gashiest gash you ever seen. If you ever find it, you can see it. It's a fucking sight to behold. Teacher loved that one. I don't even think he was there. I think he'd fallen off a chair at that point. The fucking daft cunt. So yeah, I'd love to do maybe masks. Like, I love to do the idea of, like, imagine some of my paintings if you could make those kind of as though they were characters in a play. You know, the Duke of Billiards or something like that. Like, you know, things like that. Almost like some of the skulls and sort of like a kabuki look, you know, or like a ritualistic kind of Egyptian. What's that movie? Not Temple of Doom. What was the other one? Q, the winged serpent, innit? The one with the fucking the dude with the big fucking Quetzalcoatl mask, and he's just cutting the fucking ribs open and shit. Yeah, something like that. Something like ritual looking. Something kind of, yeah. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, masks and action figures. I mean, shit that I like. Shit that I would love to do. Or ostensibly just give it all up and just become a Lego master builder, because I fucking love Lego, man. I love Lego. I mean, if you want to buy me treats, you can buy me some Lego. and I'll give you paintings, because I haven't sold a fucking painting in months. But hey, maybe I shouldn't paint anymore. Maybe I should start doing something that sells bootleg action figures for hipsters. Cameron, I think we should do a bootleg action figure. Cult Trooper. What would a cult stormtrooper look like? Oh, that's interesting. I hope you're enjoying the ASMR. My thank you glass, by the way. I hope you're enjoying the ASMR. So yeah, art styles. I would love to do a bit more illustrative style and a bit more like sign painter-y style, because like I would love to just go for like a 6-month sign painter course. He would just come back. Oh, did you ever fucking watch them boys pinstriping cars? Jesus Christ. People be like, George, are you watching porn? You're like, no, I'm just watching guys pinstriping cars. Oh. You just load up that brush and just go, oh, you fucking beauties. What other stuff do you like that's a bit porny? Do you ever watch CNC stuff? Not consensual, non-consensual. I mean the metal drilling. You ever see that stuff? You know, the fucking CNC drilling machines and the lathes and shit. They get them fucking metal fucking tubes and they carve them. Like it's like a wooden lathe, but it's like metal. They're just carving all that shit, carving metal on metal. So it's... And then it was friction welding. Did you ever watch friction welding? That's good. I used to watch Hot Wheels racing. That was good. People racing like die-cast toy cars, building wee race tracks and then putting like wee GoPro cameras on them, go send them down wee races. Used to watch that in the pub. That was good. So yeah, so any art styles, yeah, designing Hot Wheels cars and a Lego Master Builder and ritual masks and toys. And I'm not doing a tarot set, it'd be way too fucking hard. If I did a tarot set, it'd disappear. It'd be a good tarot set, but that's a year of my life I ain't getting back. Because none of these are fucking bad. Would you bet? Would you? No. Next question. That was a good question. Enjoy that. Here's one. It's not so much a question as just a kind of open-ended sentence that'll get me talking. The weird space between awake and asleep. That is called, I think it's called hypnagogic sleep or hypnopompic sleep. Hypnopompic is as you're falling asleep, I think, and hypnagogic is as you're waking up. Hypnagogia, hypnopompia, whatever. I am not a fucking, I don't speak Greek, but I do know a lot about this because I find dream work is very important. Again, I've done a bit of work with my psychologist friend Laura Patterson, and we're doing about Jungian stuff. And one thing I'd found a lot with artists was that they sort of said they don't dream. And I actually think what artists who are engaged properly in the work, and I'm going to use this term. I hope you know what I mean. I don't want other people, but I want other people in a good way too. You're sort of doing an active imagination. You're sort of doing something that's kind of as Einstein would have called it, your inclination for play in a painting. So in active imagination, people talk a lot about stuff about lucid dreaming, and they talk about what's the other one that David Lynch talks about? Transcendental meditation, and nobody really talks about active imagination because it's almost so simple and so obvious that you kind of don't. You go, that's not fucking effective. Active imagination is kind of basically controlled daydreaming. So you think of lucid dreaming as controlled dreaming, which is very hard, very difficult, and you only really get one shot at it every night. You get one shot at lucid dreaming. I've got one shot at Glory by Judas Priest in my head all week, sorry about that. But yeah, you think about active imagination as lucid daydreaming, and you think about it as you're painting. You know, sometimes you'll be painting, say some of us will be painting, say, monsters, demons and creatures and things like that, and you go, who's he and where's he coming from? And we used to talk about kind of the space that a lot of our art lives in, and I kind of think you're sort of playing in an imagination place. And you know, sometimes like you think about, say, kids playing with their dolls or playing with their G.I. Joes, and a lot of truth comes out in imagination. A lot of work can be done with active imagination. You think of active imagination in the sense of when I was a kid, I used to play G.I. Joes. And when we used to play G.I. Joes, we didn't have G.I. Joes versus Cobras. We used to pull them out on the floor, and you would pick your team, and it would be my team and your team. And we literally, the G.I. Joe battles were not unlike, sort of like the guerrilla warfare, for want of a better term, of the Troubles, for want of a better term. There was tit for tat, there was booby traps, there was espionage, there was fucking collusion. It was fucking crazy, and that stuff sort of percolates down, and you think about it, you think, so that was me as a kid, and I'm like, da-da-da-da-da, and fucking, you know, General Hawk, he's fighting fucking Snake Eyes, and fucking, he snuck out of he put a bomb under Snake Eyes' car, and all, and, you know, it's funny, you know, because that was coming out of us, in the stuff, like, it ties back to someone saying, sure, why's your stuff so fucking mad, why's your art look mental, and you go, man, I'm from the fucking Falls Road, I was born in 1983, of course I'm fucking mental. My ma said that to me a while ago. My ma says, God, you're after what we were through, surprised we're not all mental. I went, man, you are mental. You know what I mean? So, active imagination, think about it. You think, use it in that sense, use it in, you know, like, do you have a mate who tells you a dream, and, like, it's so easy to analyse? I had a mate, I kept telling them about, knowing people who had alternative sexual lifestyles, and he said he just, dude, stop talking to me about them because I'm having dreams about that shit. You know what I mean? It's funny what you can do, you know, with dreams and imagination, what sort of comes knocking at your door. You think about recurring dreams, recurring images. I had, when I was a kid, what I would call kaiju dreams. I used to have these dreams that were like, there was something coming, and I wasn't really into, like, what do you call them, Godzilla or anything as kids. Maybe I'd seen a few kind of those kind of Japanese, I don't know what you call the big robot movies, you know, kind of shit edited down for UK TV, fucking watched it some Sunday, there was fuck all else on. But I had these dreams where it would be like, you know, like there's something coming, everybody, you know, and you go, fuck, that's maybe a bit of trauma from the Troubles, maybe guys stay indoors, there's a bomb scare, things like that. So an example of active imagination, we're talking about the place between sleep and dreams. So before I go into active imagination, actually think about, this has been attributed to Dali, Einstein and Tesla, and I think I had this weird brainwave today that maybe they all did this and they'd all heard it from somewhere else or heard it from each other, you know. But it was, when you hear Einstein did something, I always take it with a pinch of salt. Dali is often taken out of context, and Tesla, I think, it's attributed to, you know, as if he was like a super ubermensch. So this idea of falling asleep with a metal ball in your hand, or, you know, nodding off, and as you nod off, you drop the metal ball into like a bowl or a metal pan, like clangs and wakes you up, and you sort of, just as you're falling asleep, you get that kind of lovely mushy squish of dreams. That would be hypnopompic sleep as you're going off to sleep, and you do some good stuff. Philippa had said to me she does sort of what you would call dream work. You know, you're kind of like when you're half awake and half asleep, and you're sort of thinking about your paintings. In the book, I think the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, she mentions a friend who dreamt of an art show, and I was like, it was my art show, but all this art couldn't have been mine, it was all so good. And it was like, she was like, it was yours, you dreamt it, you imagined it into some sort of existence. Imagine that. Fuck me, I would love that. Here's a fucking art show, man. What? Just, you know, like your brain hands it to you, like gift wrapped. Oh, it would be gorgeous. That would be amazing. So, active imagination is kind of a wee, quick, cheap, fucking handy way. I don't know how often you would use it, maybe because it's a bit of a shortcut to some sort of dream unconscious thinking. One of them is my good friend MJ Dorian. He does a thing called Creative Codex on YouTube. Check him out. MJ Dorian. MJ's a fucking dote. He's a legend. Dote means he's a sweetheart. He's a great guy. Really nice dude. And he posted, my friend Laura Patterson, we were always looking out for my friend and colleague, my esteemed colleague, was looking for synchronicities, and she goes, "Here, what about this video here?" And I went, "Fuck me, that's MJ." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "I know him." He sent this video, which I had saved already to my playlist, called Digging, which was Carl Jung's Digging, Active Imagination, which is what was it for me, mental hobby. We thought so. You imagine, there you are, and you're digging. Where are you? What sort of ground are you standing on? Are you on a hill? Is it dry ground? Is it wet ground? Are you using a spade, a shovel, using your hands? Are you making progress? Are you digging deep quickly? And as you dig deep, you're starting to go deeper into the hole, and deeper down into whatever material, whatever texture of the ground it is. Now you're in over your head, and you're digging. And what happens now? Do you go deeper? What do you find? What's your spade hitting? What sort of spade are you using? Using a shovel, spade, you know? What shape is it? Is it the right tool for the job? Has it been a hard dig? Has it been a simple, almost cartoonish Tom and Jerry dig? Or has it been like my head I'm picturing the grave digger a bit from like the start of Frankenstein from 1931, you know, sort of striking a match and lighting a fag and lighting his pipe and just getting down to work, you know. And I did this active imagination the other day, and my first thought was, I imagined myself near a grave, near the bottom of Milltown Cemetery. And I remember my dad and some of my relatives were buried. Boggy ground, and I imagined I was digging there. I dug, and I was like, I couldn't like get anywhere, and I tried to dig sideways, and I went, I'll be doing that to be like in the fucking people's graves, man. And then I thought, right, well, where else can I dig? And I thought, I'll dig in some different ground. And I dug. And I don't know why, but this was cement at the bottom of this. This was like, the first one was like cement, and it didn't go anywhere, and the second one was like roots. The second one was like tree roots, and I just couldn't get through. And I thought it wouldn't be right to be hacking through them roots. So sort of dead end and then roots. And I thought, fuck this. So then I imagined then a different, like it was on a hill. And I imagined digging. And I said, fuck me, I'm fucking just digging into this ground, and I was sitting meditating, as it were. I was just taking my time, and just do this. If you're bored, just try a wee bit of active imagination. Just imagine and interact with your imagination. And I went, hello, who's there? And I could hear someone. And I thought it was someone shouting down the hole. I said, what are you doing? I went, I'm digging. So what are you doing for? I was just digging it. And I wrote it. You play it in your head like you're playing with your G.I. Joe figures. You know, you're playing with your dolls. You're playing, and you play with your imagination, and you sort of go, what are you doing digging down there? I don't know, mate. I was told to do this. And I was like, I don't know. And I realised the voice was my own voice. And I realised that I'd fucking dug myself into a fucking corner. And I just went, this isn't working. And that's okay. But that was an interesting journey to take, you know. It might have only been a few feet down into imaginary soil, but it was interesting for me. It was nice. It was fun to play with. So play with certain things. There's some amazing active imaginations you can try. If you want a suggestion, I can point some out to you. But yeah, active imagination is a good way to play with dream stuff. And I think the strength that you could build on that, you could start building on lucid dreaming, you could start building on your hypnagogic sleep, your hypnopompic sleep. And I think about as well, a psychopomp is like a bird, or a creature that takes the spirit, takes the soul to the underworld. And you think about like hypnopompic, it's like you're slipping under, you're going into this lovely other world of dreams. And just don't ever underestimate dreams. You might have been working in some shit job, and you might have come into work one day and been fucking, your head might have been sparkling because you had a fucking dream I had last night, man? I dream? Wah. A big fucking fat Joe who doesn't like anything, who stops about fucking dreams. I don't give a fuck about your fucking dreams. And you're going, oh, okay. Your dreams are always valid and always important. If they're recurring, if they're significant, don't ever ignore them. Don't let big fat Joe talk you out of them. I remember one day chatting to a fella about dreams I'd had that were obviously about insecurity. And I was talking about, like, you know, like, the naked dreams you have, or the dreams where you fucking caught bashing the bishop, you know. You know, all those kind of, I think we've all had kind of dreams like that. And this dude come over and like deliberately misinterpreted it, you know, to kind of get a joke out of it. And you're like, dude, you fucking dick, man. Dreams are valuable, dreams are important, they're very personal to you. And people who share their dreams with you and people who talk about their dreams, I think it's kind of like they say about colour, or a bit more pure in their outlook. I love that. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. I do think if there's anything you need me to clarify, I will obviously dig down on. I'm trying not to refer too much to notes, but definitely do a bit of dream work, do a bit of active imagination work, keep a dream journal if you can be annoyed. Easier said than done when you're ADHD as fuck. Active imagination when you're bored. Look up some active imagination. I recommend Creative Codex. There are a few others I can't think off the top of my head right now, but I will recommend them to you. And just play with it again. The inclination for play. Play with your imagination. Play with something that I don't know if everybody appreciates how good the human imagination is. You think back to me saying about how imposter syndrome, I don't believe it's a real thing. Someone's imagination was clever and cruel enough to come up with that. So, yeah, let's keep rocking. I'm really enjoying this. I'm getting into this. Hopefully you're enjoying it too, guys. Next fucking question. I'm going to rustle around in my bag and see what I can find. My meal bag, that is. My MAIL bag. That's a crap joke. Stop it, Torbitt. Last question, that's because, you know what? The honey vodka's stinging. The honey vodka is, it's like the Jerry Seinfeld court case movie, B-movie. I'm gonna make a movie for kids. It's gonna be an animated movie about bees. And half the movie's gonna be a fucking court case. And there's a bit where it's like Ray Liotta. What the fuck? Stupid cunt. Anyway. So, you know, you do what you gotta do. You fucking Jerry Seinfeld sitting there owns more sports cars than Jesus, and I fucking literally would be having to check my fucking Danske Bank app if I wanted to buy a fucking handful of Hot Wheels. But anyway, how's it going? So, a good question from Dean. He says, when do you accept that a piece, painting or music, etc., is finished? He says, like, I know as artists we never truly call something done, but at what stage do you grudgingly call it that? And after you're sick of looking at it? My first thought is George Lucas. He says, like, all artists don't consider art finished, they consider it abandoned. George, you're wrong. Art needs to have a point where it's done. I mean, my thought there went to Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, went to Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy, and I feel like, dude, if you can't say it in, like, one, you're going to have to make the two count, which oddly relates to the next question. I can't think of it. It's like, so I'm doing a podcast and we're calling it an hour. We're going, right, we'll round it off at about an hour. We'll do this as the last segment. This is cool, you know. But an hour's cool. Painting, I almost feel there is a sense of like you as you paint, so I remember DeviantArt people would say, I've spent 30 hours on this, I've spent 12 hours on this, and I'm like, The only way I could probably count the hours is by figuring out how many albums or how many audiobooks I listened to in the time or something like it. To me, a painting is done when it's done. It's a process, but I feel like as you get more experience, the more knowing what you're doing with your fucking art, you go, well, that's nearly done. A good way for me to think about it would be if you remember the game Starflight for the PC, the Mega Drive, late 80s, early 90s. And it was like you had to mine, and it's like you had to like go to a planet, and you had to send your wee fucking digger down, and you had to like go across the planet and, you know, mine for gold. And I feel like if you've touched every bit of the canvas and addressed every bit of the canvas, and you've done what you can with every bit of the canvas, and every bit of the canvas refers back to the main motif of the painting. It's just weird to say out loud because I think I know what I'm saying, but it's stuff that I don't say out loud. It's stuff that when I'm painting, it's no problem. It's I just I'll just grab a tube of fucking orange paint and move it in a fucking semicircle shape and go, there we go. But when I'm trying to explain this in words, I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say. But there is a point where you go, the painting is saturated with, the painting is filled, the painting is to the threshold, to the hilt, to the limit. A few of the paintings that I was working on during Cult, and a few of the paintings I brought over from the second Cult that I'd sort of worked on in mortar projects, they just weren't fucking working. They were overworked, and they were like, it's not like a Catwoman movie or something where you can just scrap it, you know. It doesn't cost me fucking 60 million quid to scrap a paint. It costs me nothing. I just take a fucking tube of fucking, usually the cheapest paint I can find, and just lash it over the fucking paint and just paint over it and just whatever. If it hasn't, I suppose this kind of makes sense in a podcast sense. If you ask me a question and I can't go from A to B directly, think of a painting like that. Think of a painting. If you kind of set out to do something and you kind of haven't hit it, you know what I mean? Phil would be the sort of person who would be like, takes a picture, she loads it up, boom, it's online. She says, I upload it, that means I can't tinker with it, I can't touch it. And I'm like, yeah, but fuck that. My thing is much more fucking, the version you see online is a facsimile of what I have. And you might see it in real life and it might have a slight different thing, you know. I always think of like the Instagram like a test audience, you know. I don't know. So Dean then had asked the second question, and this is a great question because me and Dean work together kind of musically, and he says, secondly, are there any times that you personally have been able to cannibalize two different pieces together to make something else? It's something I struggle with as a musician. This is interesting because I'm trying to answer this, but this is a really good thing he says here. To me, each riff lives in one piece, and it feels incorrect to try and graft it into another, which is class because there's a song that we did. Do I have the time? Could I stick the song on? We had a song. My old band was called Red Six. We had a song called The Curse. It was originally called The Curse of Wankenstein because I'd had this sort of doom, typo-negative influence kind of song, and Steve had this kind of thing that almost kind of Steve Martin, Fried Ends, BC. Steve Martin is my boy. He's a good lad. Love him very much. He's a fucking... Everyone knows Steve. And I fucking can put together a fucking tune. He's got this weird kind of determination where he's like, I can picture it. And when me and him were writing this song, we were like, dude, what if we just slapped them together? And because we're both in, I think, G, or what's the step? I don't know. C flat. It was a fucking, anyway, the chord was fucking the same chord in these two songs that we had set. And we literally called it The Curse of Wankenstein, because The Curse of Frankenstein's Frankenstein with Christopher Lee. And we called it Wankenstein because we're dickheads. And it worked because the idea in the song was that there was this bit where it stylistically, thematically, narratively worked. So when it comes to some of my paintings, I'm working on 3 paintings at the minute that are on the same size of canvas, and I'm like, this is a triptych. Oh my god, it's not a triptych. I'm like, it's a fucking triptych. I don't have the space to work on a triptych, man. No, it's a fucking triptych, dude. Sometimes tequila, and you could just say tequila and salt and a lime, but then you do tequila and hot sauce and an orange. There's certain things, there's certain cocktails, there's certain things that just work together that we just happen to be writing 2 riffs that were in the same key, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. You can't force it. I think one of the things is, if something's shit's okay. You're only as good as your last shit output. It's amazing what you can do when you've got like a creative drive, when you want to do something. Me and Steve were happy to fucking mush 2 things together and see what happened, and it worked. Don't be afraid to try those things. Don't be afraid. You're not going to create a zombie virus. You're not going to create a nuclear bomb. You're not going to hurt anybody. You're not going to, your creative decisions aren't going to give kids fucking thalidomide. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. Like, seriously. There's cunts out there who've made decisions that have led to fucking people who fucking have had to fucking starve to death. People who've had to fucking die over fucking stupid decisions made by people. You're a fucking artist. You make big decisions, but it's not them sort of decisions. Fuck, dude. Yeah. That's question time's over. I'm way to fucking play some riffs. I'm inspired, man. I'm gonna write the best punk album you ever fucking heard. Yeah. No, here, thank you very much. I'm gonna head off. That was a fucking cool question. I'm enjoying the chat. I'm enjoying the fun. I'm enjoying the inspiration. I hope you have been enjoying it. I won't drag it on too long because it's just me. If you want more from Gerd doing solo, if you want Gerd bouncing off people, I mean, if you want to see me bouncing off people physically, I'm squishy like that. There, I'm kind of like a drunken sumo wrestler, you know. Anyway, I love you very much. Thank you very much for listening to this amount of questions. I'm going to do the sign off right here. Alright. So there we go. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. That was quality crack. One thing about being a dude who struggles with the solitary confinement of being a fucking single dad who lives with his mum. I love the company. I love whenever you guys give me feedback on the podcast. I love that you enjoy feeling that we're chatting to you, that feeling like I'm chatting to you. I love you. Thank you very much. It's been great crack. Some of the questions we didn't answer. Let me see. My favourite bad guy, probably somewhere between Skeletor, Shredder and Megatron. As for that question, it's a foot long. It just depends how big your feet are. And, well, probably RoboCop. No Ghostbusters. No Star Wars. What's my favourite movie? It may be RoboCop. My daughter came down one night. She was 7. She just turned 7 and she sat and watched RoboCop with me, and I went, yeah, I watched that when I was 7. I don't know if it's my favourite movie. It was just kind of accepting the trauma of how amazing that movie is. We all know the Citizen Kane of movies is Aliens. And oh fuck, dude, I was watching Chat Pile for that band Chat Pile, and it's like, dude, it's just some fucking moderately autistic guy in his fucking shorts talking about movies, slightly out of context. Yeah, check out Shotbed. They were good. Enjoyed them. Don't know what it is about them I liked. Guys, I love you. Thank you very much. I genuinely do. Thank you very much for listening. If you've listened this far, I'm going to give you a wee kiss. Oh, do you like that? Where was it? Mucho gracias. Up a hoods. Up your bum. Up a fucking mad art, people. This has been Gerd Torbitt, Cult and Art Podcast. I've been drinking honey vodka and I'm fucking still able to put words together into sentences. I think I'm doing alright. Thank you. See you later for Cult number 6. You.
Woo-hoo!